Genshin Impact is a very large game. Contained within its world of Teyvat lies numerous wonderful and enchanting locations. Environments that, at times, may make one stop and simply admire the scenery. But what if I told you that beyond the confines of these places lie even more spectacular sights? I've spent a great deal of time exploring the areas one was never meant to explore. Peeking beyond the curtains of Teyvat and breaking through the walls the developers put up to keep players out. So let's take a look together at just a few of these places. And in this edition, one specific to Mondstadt. Number 1. A Fairy Tale Wonderland. These beautiful domains in Mondstadt are unlike anything else in the game. Eagle's Gate, the event-exclusive Frost-Worn Space, and secret ingredient from Xingling's story quest. To this day, I believe them to be the most fascinating because of the fact that those giant vines and ruins you see far outside the scope of the domain are all walkable surfaces. Each domain is like something from a fairy tale, climbing the many giant beanstalks, pushing through thick foliage in pursuit of the tops, from which you'll see awesome views, where everything below is so far away that it's just a solid color due to fog, or the crazy sights of the sky that you couldn't see from the ground floor. And let's not forget visiting the many empty rooms hidden far outside the confines of the domain's intended play area. It's all enough to make one wonder if the devs once had different plans for these expansive domains. For as it is with all early game domains, there's far more beyond the tiny play area. For example, Secret Ingredient is uniquely built in a way that the player can complete the domain from start to finish using a single character and with only jumping, gliding, and non-elemental attacks. The way that there are alternate paths around each of the sealed gates, inviting the onlooker to venture their perils. At the final gate, there's a hole in the wall that leads one to a vine that wraps around to the top of the boss room. Really, it's a look into what domains could be instead of their usual, defeat these monsters in X minutes. But I digress. To my knowledge, Eagle's Gate can still be easily climbed. It's also a permanent domain, unlike the other two mentioned here. If you're looking for a different kind of adventure in Genshin Impact, I'd recommend giving it an attempt. You'll want to bring Geo-Traveler along, as well as one of Kuching, Kazuha, Alhaitham, or Venti. And if you happen to have Xiao, he makes the long glides between areas much more bearable, because some of the gaps turn out to be enormous. A testament to just how big these domains are compared to the tiny play area we're given. Number 2. Durin's Skeleton and the Spine of Dragonspine. There's a peculiar sight hidden beneath Dragonspine. Though this section has Durin's Skeleton in the title, that's not the oddity in question, but we can see the rest of his skeleton from out of bounds. The peculiar sight is a deep cavern that reaches about as far down into the abyss as the mountain does up towards the heavens. In one of my oldest videos, I dubbed this the Spine of Dragonspine, a snowy cave located underground south of the entombed city outskirts. It's a strange place that used to extend as far down as the map's void-out zone. That is, the part in which you are teleported away upon touching. Since Sumeru's release, dozens of underground cave systems reaching downwards of 5 times this depth have been added to the game. So at least when speaking relative to the overall depth of the game's map, the spine no longer reaches so far down. There isn't much in here except snow and the expectation of death by sheer cold. However, the bottom of the cavern is outside the range of that. Number 3. Peak of Indignor. If you weren't convinced by the abundance of extra land and domains from the first part, then let me direct your attention to the Peak of Indignor, everyone's favorite domain to grind for hydro and cryo artifacts. The devs crafted multiple mountain ranges to encapsulate the teeny tiny single platform you do combat on. It's atmospheric for sure, but I do wonder if all of it was necessary. Not that I'm complaining, because it gives a lot to explore. And running up the many invisible mountainsides near the ceiling of this place is a lot of fun. Just have to make sure you don't accidentally overshoot, because then you'd be in for a long and painful fall, and an even more painful climb back up. Unfortunately, this place was the victim of a patch. You used to be able to turn around at the start and, with the use of a few skills and Windcatcher to get height, glide over to the surrounding landscape. You'd then travel down this cave towards the light to reach the perimeter of the domain, where many vast landscapes resided. But Hoyoverse covered the simple way out of bounds with a dreadful teleport barrier. Number 4. 2D Mondstadt. We've talked a lot about the places within Mondstadt, but not yet about the city itself. So for our final entry, let's do just that. Did you know there's a two-dimensional version of Mondstadt? It's hidden away inside the Knights of Favonius headquarters, and perhaps you've caught glimpses of it before, especially towards the beginning of the game, with those cutscenes in Jean's office. But glimpses are all you're supposed to ever see of it through the windows of her office. These are the only spots you can view it from. We can see buildings, maybe something in the background there, but that's it. Which makes for a surprise when you see just how detailed the 2D version of the city is in its entirety. By breaking out of bounds within the headquarters, we can see it all. Nothing out here has collision except the headquarters building, so there's nowhere to run around. But take a look at the background we only glimpsed earlier. It's a 2D image wrapped like wallpaper around the map. And it's detailed. Over here we have Cider Lake. They even have the small islands depicted on the image. Speaking of lakes, Starfall Lake would be exactly where they have a light trail for the Statue of the Seven. Again, the detail. There's Dragonspine, notably original Dragonspine from version 1.0. I'm so happy the visage of the original survived in some form. Who knew it was hidden in the Knights of Favonius headquarters? Is that a windmill? You bet, it's Springvale. That's the bridge outside the city gates, which would make the cliff on the right Cape Oath, and the area straight across from it both Falcon Coast and Windrise. Yep, that'd be the big tree. Interestingly, no light trail for the Statue of the Seven. It's quite impressive they put so much effort into designing the outside of this place when the player is never intended to see beyond the views of those few windows. But then this is a special location, because it's the only indoor place within the game that's like this. Beyond the walls of every other building, such as Angel's Share, lies nothing but an empty void. It's almost like they changed design tactics from here on out, and that these few windows in Jean's office are an outlier of their original plan, because all the other windows, including the other windows in the library, are sort of like a parallax image when viewed. With those windows, you're not actually looking outside at something. You're looking at an image that's moving based on your camera angle. This has been quite the sightseeing adventure. We covered a few oddities, but there are plenty more locations like them in Genshin, and I honestly spent a good chunk of time in my early days on YouTube covering them. So do check out the channel, subscribe if you like what you see, and thank you for tuning in. This is Moosashi, signing off. Till next time.